Hi, my name is Michael Cropsey, and today we're going to talk about something called API protection. There are 3 reasons why you need to be concerned about this. Number 1, API vulnerabilities are responsible for some of the most common web security breaches on the internet. Number 2, traditional security measures that you may have in place won't protect you against these type of threats. And number 3, many companies are unaware they even have APIs exposed. They're unaware that they're even using them. Some may just assume because they're only on the inside that they're safe. We're going to take a look today at why this isn't true and why you should be concerned. All right, so we did mention that traditional security measures may not be protecting you. Firewalls, they're great at stopping perimeter attacks. Kind of like having a security guard at your door, making sure no unauthorized personnel enter the building. WAFs, they're good on the back end, making sure your applications are safe on the inside, but only against things like attacks that have known signatures, such as known vulnerabilities, log4j for one. Also SQL injection attacks, cross-site scripting, those type of attacks. API vulnerabilities, neither one of these solutions will help you protect you against these type of vulnerabilities. Also, APIs, they dominate internet traffic. Depending on the study, you're going to read 50 to 80%. Most are going to be around 70 some to 80%. I just put 50 to 80 just because even at 50%, that's a high number. That's a lot of traffic. And when you factor in that traditional web applications firewalls often miss key API specific risks. Also, hidden APIs. We mentioned a lot of companies do not even realize they have these APIs exposed. And some of the tools that I'm going to talk about today actually have methods of going and exploring your network and showing you where those APIs are so that you know they're there and they will also protect you. But let's just first take a look at the numbers of what if having an exposed API could mean to you if you're breached. $4.8 million average cost per API related breach. I have links. Text me if you need some of these links so you can take a look. They're easily found on the internet. 84% of organizations hit by at least one API security incident. That's huge. And here, look at this one. 1.3 billion records breached. APIs involved in 80% of web attacks. Now, what can you do to protect yourself? This is not a complete list, but by no means. But Akamai, Salt Security, and Perva, these are full enterprise solutions to protect your APIs. There are open source solutions. You should do a lot of testing with these because they're hard to configure and they don't. You probably have to implement more than one open source solution to protect against every kind of API attack, which is a lot of administrative headache, and trying to actually configure these, you're probably going to miss something. So I recommend choosing a tool that's purpose-built for APIs. There are also some solutions out there like load balancers that have API protection supposedly built in. I'm going to caution you. I know this from experience. Ask your vendor how many of your customers actually use that API protection. How serious are you in keeping it developed? How serious is your product management team keeping that up to date? Make sure you ask that question because you're probably going to find it's not an adequate solution. Check with your vendors, do some testing, do your homework. Now with that, I'm going to jump into actually demoing some of these attacks themselves. I'm going to use this. First, I'm going to talk about the OWASP top 10. This is the list of different types of web application attacks. One of the attacks I'm going to demo is an API specific attack called BOLA. Very hard to defend. A lot of open source tools just plain out will say they do not protect against it unless you do some custom scripting. Not something you probably want to get into. And I'm going to demonstrate these vulnerabilities using an application called OWASP Juice Shop. This is an application that purposely has Some of these vulnerabilities open. This is for security admins, security developers to test, get acquainted, understand these attacks. It can also be good for developers to do the same thing. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to log out because I'm already logged in. So I want to capture a new token. I'm going to go to my proxy, my HTTP history. And what I am using right here is an application called Burp Suite. Burp Suite is, think of it as a remote control to allow you to inject API calls and observe what happens. And in this case, I'm going to use it to show a couple specific vulnerabilities. Now I'm going to come into my Juice shop. I'm going to log in as a standard user. Now my password is user8, and you're going to see obviously Chrome doesn't like a password like that for obvious reasons. But let's go take a look. I know that I just logged in. I logged in from the web, but this is looking at API calls, and the API call is REST user login, and sure enough, here is my token. Now just to verify that this is my JWT JSON web token, there's a website out there, JWT.io, that will allow you to view these tokens. If you have the professional version of Burp Suite, you don't need to go to this website. I do not. I'm using the community version. And you can see the role is customer, user 8. That is my JSON web token. So now I'm going to go to I'm going to send this to repeater. And you can see if I just want to send any of these commands, I can send these. This is what was actually posted via the web, just to show you. I'm going to do a custom post, and I'm going to post something I know will work in my OWASP Juice shop. This should not work. Like if you go to Amazon and you try this, you're going to get blocked. Hopefully, I would hope you get blocked. But I'm see right here, I'm accessing, look what I'm doing. I'm trying to access an object. And in this case, it's not my object, it's basket 1. If I go to my JSON web token, I can see my basket should be 33. And I'm going to grab the token that I had earlier. And you got to copy this in exactly if you do this in your lab, because if you don't, if you get an extra space or something, it's going to get blocked. And here we go. I just posted this API call, and look what happened. I got access to Juice, Orange. This is the basket. However, it's not my basket. If I actually go into OWASP and look, I don't have anything in my basket, but yet, whatever basket I have access to right now has a lot of stuff in it. You can see where this would be a problem. Obviously, if you're running a site like Amazon, you don't want other users in the back end figuring out how to get into other people's shopping baskets. Now, let me show you another vulnerability. This is called a excessive data exposure vulnerability. Another type of API vulnerability that I know this is subject to. I am going to create a new user, and I'm going to assign myself the admin role. And look, it succeeded, it created, and it looks like it created the admin role, which is not what you want to see happen. So let's just verify. Let me re-log in as that user. I'm going to go ahead and just send a login request. And this is the token. Just like before, I had a JSON web token. Let's just verify that it is seeing me as a login or as an admin. And look at this. Oh, that's evil. The one I just created. I have a bunch of evil administrators on this site. Okay, now that's the one I just created, Evil 12. And you're going to find the same thing. I've done this obviously quite a few times. And yep, I was able to create an admin user, which obviously shouldn't happen. But if you have some kind of web API protection protecting, even if you have this vulnerability, if you have custom apps that are written and you're using these APIs for whatever reason, API protection is going to protect you and keep you safe. So take a look at some of those products I mentioned, and email me, shoot me a note if you've got any questions. Thanks for watching.